Hello and welcome to this week's video. For the last video of the year, I wanted to do something special. I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I've done in my previous videos. So I wanted to do an art room tour and then a question and answer section. But first I want to start off and say thank you. Thank you to everybody that has taken the time to subscribe to my channel and watch any of my videos. I greatly appreciate it. Earlier this month, Nerdy Crafter had a shout out for my channel, and my channel grew from 225, now it's over 5,200 subscribers. And I am just humbled by the amount of positive feedback and all the support my channel has gotten in the short amount of time I've been doing it. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for the art tour. Alright, so here is my art room. Art room's in the basement of our house, so it does have concrete walls on a couple of them, so I can't really put up frames. But we'll start on this wall here. This is the north wall. And so if you ever get like artist sketch cards, this is a great way to display them, kind of go up above the door frame. And have them coming down all the way down to the floor. And then, so the rest of this north wall is my Godzilla wall. These are all original pieces. I'll try to get it so you can kind of see everything without the glare. The top three there are the first three I got back in 2013 at Denver Comic-Con. Then I'll let you get a look at all of the other ones. And that's the original artwork in my Godzilla wall. Down below those, I have my collection of treasure chests. So these chests here, the top ones I use on my table at conventions. The bottom one's just kind of a storage area here in my art room. And then I have my fuzzy monster slippers, because again, this is a basement room, so it gets pretty cold here in the winter in Nebraska. And then going over to the east wall, back up and get you a better look, I have some Godzilla prints from various artists. And then I have some collection of some other things. I have my little demon goat, some little monsters, a pterodactyl that my dad made. Over here, and this puzzle picture my daughter made. She did it for an art exhibit. And then another wooden dinosaur that my dad had made. And then I have my Chewbacca I sculpted, inspired by James Hance's artwork, and then signed by Peter Mayhew. I also had got that done at Denver Comic-Con 2013. And a little Ewok. I did him out of needle felt, and then I had him signed at British Fest. And then there's one more dinosaur down here, and nothing on the bottom shelf. And then over here, it's got a nice little heater. Need that down here in this cold room. Some more artwork. On the bottom shelf, I have some art books. Some of these are how-to books, and some of these are just collections of artwork that I'll kind of look through occasionally, give me some inspiration. More artwork. I've got some pieces of mine, either pieces that are broke, pieces that I just was messing around. You can kind of see a couple of my bears there that I did years ago. And my Bat Ewok's got a few cracks in it, so I held on to him. Alright, and then we have a dresser here that I keep actually art supplies, foam, some like my heat gun, some tools and stuff in. Some more artwork, my TV. I watch a lot of YouTube on it when I'm sculpting. Otherwise, I'll just have music playing if I'm doing like time lapse and stuff. Then I have a hat that was commissioned by a friend of mine based off of one of my shell monsters, kind of like that guy there. That's another artwork based off of one of my shell monsters. And then I have my stand I use over my art table when I'm doing time-lapse. Then I have my clay, so I keep all my clay in here, organized kind of by color, but you know, I have 12 slots in there and I have way more different colors of clay, so I kind of group stuff together like glow in the dark with white and translucent and such. I also have some supplies down below my clay here. So I've got some of them labeled and some of them not. That's just pretty typical. And then I also have all my brushes and tools kind of in these little cups and stuff. That way it's easy to move it over to the art desk as needed. Some scraps of Worbla, extra pens, gloss, all that good stuff. And then some clay that wouldn't fit into the storage unit, storage container, storage thing. And then this is the east and south corner. So I have a bunch of different He-Man artwork on there, or Masters of the Universe, I should say. Okay. And then just below that is this mess. So I keep my glue, a bunch of unfinished pieces, scraps. The 2 Funko Pops are actually for a video idea that I'll be doing sometime in the near future. And then the Worbla monster there is work in progress, to say the least. Not really for sure what he's going to be yet, so I kind of stopped on him. All right, before I go back to the south wall, I want to show up above. So my basement room here kind of has this little drop-down section. You know, I'm sure there's pipes and stuff that run in there. So I had just enough space where I could put postcards and other cards up there. So I thought that, you know, it was a good place to have those. And then back over to the south wall, I've got the shelving unit, some polyfill, and some extra shells, and some other stuff for, you know, like my necklace display. And then up above the shelving unit, I've got my Godzilla curtain and some of the, you know, some of the bigger projects I've made that I've kept. And this guy here, he's kind of one of my favorite shell monsters, so I kind of kept a hold of him. And then these drawers here, so I've got like paints, packing supplies, Worbla, sorry there's not good lighting over it, just different things like that. And then this corner here, so this would be the south and the west corner. So this section here is all fantasy artwork, and the final section here is all superheroes. And so you notice here I've got corkboard attached to those walls and that wall there, or those 2 walls, same wall I guess on the south wall. And I did that because I wanted to be able to change out artwork, and with the concrete, I wasn't going to drill into the concrete for each picture frame I wanted to put up, plus I can afford picture frames for all this. So I thought this was a good solution to put up different artwork and be able to change it out as I get different pieces and want a, different piece up at the time. And in this corner here is the couple little trash cans, some shadow boxes, cardboard, poster board, stuff like that. And then under, this is where the stairs are to go to the basement. So under there I have a futon, and I have some various handmade plushes on there and some pillows. Just above that, I got a Kit Fisto I did off of the original Clone Wars cartoon. I did that in 2003. And then just to the right of that is a picture my daughter did for me. Might have been a Father's Day gift, I think. And then I've got some different drawers that has my resin stuff. Like stuff for making crayons and soaps and stuff. And then some different supplies, reference material, stuff like that down there. And then the wall that's just above, or just where the stairs are at, I have some various artwork. I use clothesline and clothespin so I could easily switch it out. Some cosplayers, a couple of them I've met. And then I have my Yaya Han calendar that my wife got me. I've always been a fan of her stuff. And there's one of Kid Wolf. Love her silk. And just some different artwork there. I do have a collection of badges from different conventions I've gone to. There's my wife's. She's gone with me to WillyCon, and then she went with me to the Grand Comic Con. Normally she doesn't attend those. And then some other convention badges, and it's from Funko. And then, yeah, so just different conventions I've either gone to as a vendor or even just as an attendee. If you guys saw anything in this video of the artwork that you're interested in getting, I'm not gonna go through and necessarily put links to the artists, but if there's somebody you're like, hey, I really like this at this time, you know, can you tell me who did that? Yeah, definitely leave a comment down below if there's a certain artist that, you know, you were fans of their work and you want to know where to get it. I will definitely try to put that information in those comments. And I'll kind of back up here, so I have my art table in the middle. It kind of faces different directions depending on what I'm doing. And down below it is this mess here. So I've got my clay that's open, supplies like parchment paper, wax paper, some extra tools, a little fluff thing, whatever that's called. You know, those people use them in the showers. I don't. I use that for texturing, so texturing clay. All right, let's move on to the questions and answers. Okay, so a few days ago, I asked on social media, on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook, if anybody had any questions about me, my art, my channel, anything. So the response was overwhelming. Okay, it wasn't that overwhelming. This is actually my wife's psychology paperwork, so no, I don't need that. So I'll just get right through these. John asked, after making a half mask, any plans on making cosplay accessories for customers? I don't have any plans of necessarily making ones for, you know, like to put in my Etsy shop or anything. If somebody has a special request and it kind of goes with what I do, yes, I would maybe take that on. A friend of mine has talked about doing a Poison Ivy cosplay, and I really like Poison Ivy when she's got the plant monsters with her, and I do a lot of plant creatures, so I'd definitely be willing to make something like that. Abby asks, what is your favorite piece you've made? That's probably the Dancing Groot that's doing the handstand. That was one of those pieces that was very rewarding because I was able to pull it off exactly how I wanted to. She also asked, what about your least favorite? I don't really know. I mean, there's pieces I haven't been happy with, but I don't really have one that stands out as my least favorite. Which piece took you the most time to make? That would for sure be the Swamp Thing. He took over 40 hours to make. Even by using the mannequin head as kind of a shortcut, he still took a lot of time to cover, sculpt all the vines, the plants, and do the painting. Jesse asked, the one-eyed blobs and shell monsters seem to be a mainstay for you, something that stuck around in your store and on con tables. What are some sculpt lines that you've done in the past that you have discontinued, and why did you stop making them? Probably the main thing is I used to do a lot of little teddy bear figurines, and I really like doing them, and I think it just kind of went a different direction. I like to do more monster stuff, so that's the main reason. I mean, their popularity was always there, had a lot of fun with them, but it's just, you know, time to move on. Jesse also asked if sales weren't an issue, like you're commissioned to do it, are there any old sculpt ideas you'd like to revisit with your current skills and experiences? Not really. You know, I mean, if somebody wanted a bear figurine, I'd probably still go back and do it. What I'd probably do different, since I've had, you know, more experience since I've done the last one, is maybe add some texture to it, a few more little details to them, and that'd be about it. Tia asks, what is the next show you'll be set up at? That'll be at Grand Comic-Con in Grand Island, Nebraska, and that'll be in March. I'll go ahead and look up those dates and put them somewhere around here. She also asked, and what advice would you give younger artists who want to try their hand at sculpting with clay? Do it. I mean, you can get Primo Sculpey or polymer clay, so like Primo Sculpey, Fimo, Sculpey 3. You can get that at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's. It's an oven-baked clay. It comes, it's pre-colored. That's what I use for almost all my sculptures. Definitely just try it out. And don't be discouraged about your first pieces not being exactly how you want them. And something to always remember, this is something advice my wife has given me, is that things in nature are not perfect. So, if you're sculpting a character and you have one side done and you do the other side and it doesn't quite match up with how you want, that's okay. Andy asks, not me, how old were you when you first started sculpting? I've sculpted off and on my whole life. I do remember, in school, I remember I did, some different sculptures in art class. I made a few things through the years, but not very much. So when I really got into it, like consistently, I was 40. And that's something, when I look at some famous people, like Stan Lee, he didn't create Spider-Man until he was 40 or 41, I think 40. And so that's definitely inspired me to know, hey, even though you're 40, you can still follow that dream. And he also asked, is this something you've always done or something you started doing as an adult? So like I said, off and on, always, not till 40, on a regular basis. In fact, I'm 48 now, so I've been doing this for, 7.5 years. Lena asks, what inspired you to sculpt versus other art media? Part of that's probably my sister. She's done a lot of different art media, but she did stuff with, I think, Fimo. And so that's something, I always liked what she did. And I think, I collect toys. So as a toy collector, I like something to be 3D. And that's something, why the sculpting has really stood with me. So I really like that. She goes, I know you do felting too. Yes, I still do felting. I haven't done any videos with it yet. There will be some felting videos coming up next year. So please look forward to those. Sabrina asks, what do you have more fun doing? Your own original characters or work inspired by other things? It really depends on what it is. I love doing my own characters, and I love it when people enjoy my own characters. But sometimes I have fun, like I did some Jawas that were carrying droids from other franchises. So I did some Jawas carrying parts from Bender from Futurama. And that's something people can't get at retail. So for me, that's very fun to do a mashup like that. James asks, are you going to Comic-Con next year? And if you are you wearing the mask you made this year? Yes, James, I will be at Comic-Con next year. I've already got my table set up for that, or signed up for that. And I will be wearing that mask at least some of the time. Hopefully, I will have more of my costume done by there, because we still have about 6 months to Comic-Con. So hopefully I can get some more armor pieces and maybe a weapon made by then. I'm not promising anything, but that's what I'd like to do. Okay, Jordan asks, many pop culture artists feel the need to try to appeal to what is trending, popular at the time, instead of just making art based on what personality captivates them the most, much like mainstream YouTubers fight to stay relevant. Have you experienced this at all, or had to make stuff that you weren't particularly into? Does it feel more tedious to craft at times, or at times a bit draining, compared to the stuff you decide would be cool to make? Yes. Lately I've been really lucky because I love Groot, I love Baby Groot, and everybody else loves Groot. So, I mean, I've made that guy dozens of times, and I never get tired of making him. But I have tried to make a few things like, oh, this is popular, I want to do this, or I'll agree to a commission, and then when I go to make it, I don't feel it. And my stuff definitely turns out better, if I'm more passionate about making that piece. Danny asks, what brand of clay do you prefer? Definitely Primo Sculpey. I feel it's a lot more durable than Sculpey 3. It's a little more expensive, and the finish of it looks a lot better. And it's firmer, so to me it's easier to add details into it, where Sculpey 3 is very soft and you lose a lot of the detail, or it's hard to get things just exactly how you want. Only downfall of that is if I sculpt all day, Primo is very hard on my hands. They're very sore, but that's just something that I try to take a break with, and that's why I'll kind of go from doing clay sculptures to warbler sculptures to needle felt, and it kind of gives my hands a rest, where those require kind of different muscles and different techniques to do those. He said also, are there other sculptures that you look to for inspiration? Yes, I'm a big fan of Chris Reiniak's work. He is my biggest inspiration for my monsters. He does a lot of drawings, but he also does sculptures too, and his sculpted monsters are definitely a huge inspiration. Myra asked, what inspired you to start doing this, or how did you know you wanted to start a YouTube channel? Like I said, I was mainly inspired to do art because of my sister. As far as the YouTube channel, the main thing I wanted to do on that is really have a better way to show off my art to more people. I have Facebook and Instagram, and I've had, been really happy with that. But even though you could post a video on there, I usually just post photos, and photos do not give justice to sculptures. It's just, it just doesn't do it like a video. A video I can really show off, the thing from all angles. I can hold it, turn it, show it to the audience, and I just think it shows off my artwork a lot better. Jeff asks, you meet so many people at shows. Who are some of your most memorable? Well, Jeff is one of the most memorable people I've met, because he was at the first convention I did in 2013, which is WillyCon in Wayne, Nebraska, and I've been friends with Jeff ever since then. And the same thing goes for every other artist I've met at conventions and other fans like Jeff, where, they call it a con family. The people from conventions, has grown so big, and these are people that mean so much to me. So, I don't want to start listing people because I'll leave somebody off. So other than Jeff, who, asked the question, he's definitely, one of the standout people, but there are so many others too. Tammy asked, do you take requests to create special designs or orders? For example, pet sculptures. There are times I do like to sculpt pets sometimes. So I'm not against it. It's not something I want to do all the time. If somebody had something to say, hey, I really want you to make this, yeah, I would do it. I've done some magnets. I did a French Bulldog for my daughter's graduation. So, there will be a few that I'll do, but that's not what I want to do all the time. Rachel asks, how do you handle art burnout? Well, like I mentioned before, I do different medias. Like I do warbler, clay, and needle felting. So I think that's the biggest thing. And not only that, well, I'll go on to our next question because it's part of that. Or what do you make when you're feeling uninspired? So what really works for me is, I'll go and do my blobs I can do 10 to 15 in an hour, or I can do something like the Swamp Thing that takes 40 hours. And so I like to kind of go back and forth between shorter projects and larger projects, because they both are rewarding in their own way. So I think that helps me. Like I said, when I'm uninspired, I can still sit here and make blobs, and I'm happy with how they turned out. And then I think that happiness transitions to more inspiration to do harder projects. Rachel also asks, what other mediums are you looking forward to trying? I don't know if there's too many out there. I really want to spend more time with my 3D pen. I've done a couple videos on here, and really that's all I've done with it. I haven't done anything outside the videos. Probably the only thing I haven't done that I've always wanted to do is do some gargoyles and actually cast them out of concrete. But that's something that would be larger, they'd be heavier. I don't know anything about casting with concrete. Doesn't mean I'm not willing to learn. But so that's probably, on the bucket list of things to try. Axton asks, what's your worst oops as an artist? Worst injury suffered sculpting? Probably have 2 injuries from sculpting. When I was working on Swamp Thing, he is, Warbler sculpture. You heat up Warbler with a heat gun. So one time I was sitting down in my art room and I had him on the floor because I was working on the top of his head. So I was heating it up, and I was wearing shorts down here. I think it was, in the spring or summer. It was probably late spring. So I was heating it up, and I hit my leg with the heat gun tip. And so that was a pretty severe burn for me just not paying attention to what I was doing. One other time I've cut myself with an X-Acto knife. If you know anything about needle felting, it used needles, and I've poked myself several times with those. Those aren't, like severe injuries, but they definitely have a sharp pain that shoots through your arm. So probably the X-Acto knife cut and the heat gun injury from Swamp Thing. Heather asks, who inspires you as an artist? Like I said, I mentioned Chris Reiniak, but all the artists that have artwork in my art room, they inspire me. When I look at some of these creations these artists have done, I mean, whether it's something from pop culture or original, that's what inspires me. I mean, I look at all these wonderful things and I'm just like, yeah, that really keeps me going. She goes, where do you get your ideas from? That varies too, from other artists, from pop culture. I might watch a movie and I'm like, I've watched the 2015 Krampus movie. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there's an evil teddy bear in that. And when I saw the movie the first time, I wanted to make that teddy bear. I mean, that gave me that inspiration. So, I mean, a lot of characters or creatures from movies. And I want to make stuff that you don't necessarily get. Krampus doesn't have any merchandising that I'm aware of. I'm sure could be something out there. But, it's fun to try to bring something to life or to sculpt it that isn't going to have a toy line or something like, a mainstream item. I like to do stuff from video games that, don't necessarily have things out there. Jared asked, what was your favorite thing to build? Kind of goes back to earlier, but that's probably that handstand Groot. So like I said, he turned out pretty much exactly how I wanted him to. Another one is I made a little Groot that sat on my shoulder, and in fact, since then Jeff has that. But that's still one of my favorite things to build because it was fun and it turned out how I wanted. Delaney asks, what are some major project ideas you have for 2019? Besides the regular monsters and shell monsters and blobs that I always do, I do want to do 3 big Warbler projects. So the first one is a Necronomicon from Army of Darkness, and I want to do that. I've got actually some old school books from my boss at work, and I'm going to cover that with Warbler and sculpt the Necronomicon on there and paint it, glue it shut, the pages shut, so it's just like a, kind of a prop. Another project I want to do is either I want to do The Thing from Fantastic Four as a life-size head sculpt like Swamp Thing, or Merman from Masters of the Universe. Maybe if I'm really ambitious, I could do both. I don't know. And then probably the last big Warbler project is I want to do some kind of Frost Dragon. I had a lot of fun making dragons out of polymer clay. I haven't made any out of Warbler yet, so I want to try those. The issue I had with some of my dragons out of polymer clay is it was hard to do the wings. You had to kind of do them separately, put them in, and it was just kind of an extra step I didn't want to do. Another problem is they're pretty small and their nails, their like claws are small, and I had some issues with those breaking, so I just never kind of went back to those. So I think with Warbler they would be more durable, and I just think it'd be cool to do a Frost Dragon because I want to do it kind of white and blue, and I haven't used those colors with painting on Warbler before. So that's something. And probably the last, I don't know if I want to say the individual project's major, but the whole line is major, is I want to do some kind of blind box needle felt monster that's a little bit different than the other needle felt projects I've done. Kid Wolf asks, what inspires your creations? I kind of mentioned that before, so like other artists, definitely, and just different things I see in pop culture. And then she put, and what inspires you to create even if you may not feel like it? I'm giving myself a schedule on YouTube. I started at the beginning of this year in 2018, And I mean, I've had to have, you know, I promised myself that I would do a video a week. Every Monday I would have a new video up. And so far I haven't missed that deadline. Eventually I like to go to 2 videos a week, but I want to kind of build up a backlog. I want to make sure I have some videos ahead of time, or kind of built up, that I can have that option to go to 2 a week and still stay on that schedule. So I want to say it necessarily inspires me as much as just keeps me accountable. Candy Cane asks, from where did you get the idea to share your passion on YouTube? So I mentioned, you know, I did want to do YouTube because it show off my creations better being video, but as far as to get the idea to share it on YouTube was definitely probably Nerdy Crafter. I follow a lot of YouTubers, but as far as artistic ones and sculptors, Nerdy Crafter is definitely my favorite. I've followed her channel for years, and yeah, I cannot say enough nice things about her. She's made me a better artist from her earlier tutorial videos to her newer videos that she's tried different things with. Sweet Samurai XXXS, how did you get into using clay? It's either a cross between high school, just trying it out and liking it, and being inspired with what my sister has done. And what do you do when a project doesn't turn out and how you expected or doesn't work? Well, for a project that doesn't work at all, and if it's a clay project, which I've had several, I know one time I was making a lava monster, so I had them orange and I put these black rocks on them, and they looked more like, you know, it didn't look how I wanted it to. And so I ended up just smashing them, and I just like, well, I'll make blobs out of them. As long as I haven't baked the clay, I can resculpt them into something else, and the easiest thing to do is to do the one-eyed blobs, because there is no right or wrong in their color scheme. As far as some of the other things, I've had some Warbler projects that didn't turn out, and with Warbler, as long as you hasn't started painting it, you can still reuse it. So same thing there. I didn't do blobs, but I just used those scraps for something else. All right, so that is all the questions. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have enjoyed my channel. I've got a lot of stuff planned for 2019, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Keep an eye on my channel, and remember, never stop creating. Bye. You can purchase items with my mascot on it from my TeePublic Store. And you can purchase my one-eyed blobs from my Etsy shop. Links to my TeePublic Store, my Etsy shop, my Facebook page, and my Instagram page are in the description box below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. If you like this video, please give it a like down below. And if you have ideas for future videos, please leave them in the comments down below.